My name's Olivia Grant, I'm 30 years old, and up until last month, I honestly believed I finally had my life figured out. I work nights doing maintenance at the city's water treatment plant. Graveyard shifts, steel toe boots, and hands that always carry the smell of metal no matter how often I scrub them. I don't mind. It's honest work. When I bought my two-bedroom house 3 years ago, I didn't care that the porch paint was peeling or that the fridge wheezed like an old man with bad lungs. It was mine. After years of renting, saving, and fixing neighbors' leaky faucets for cash, I'd earned that tiny piece of peace. My father, Harold, didn't share the excitement. When I told him I'd closed on the house, he just grunted. "Don't get cocky." That was his version of affection. He raised me and my younger sister, Lily, on his own after Mom left. And by raised, I mean he barked orders and treated opinions like gospel. He loves us, I think, but his kind of love always came with edges. He calls Lily my girl in a tone I've never once heard directed at me. She glides through life, jobs appear, bills disappear, and somehow she always lands on her feet thanks to someone else's effort. Dad calls her a free spirit. I call it irresponsible. But when it comes to Lily, Dad makes irresponsibility sound endearing. It started small. Lily borrowed my lawnmower, then my car for just one weekend. Soon she was showing up at my place like it was a shared community lounge. Dad said, "Let her be, Liv. She needs stability." Translation: "You'll deal with it." I worked double shifts, paid the mortgage, and tried to ignore the resentment tightening behind my ribs. Then I got sick. It began like a cold, fatigue, coughing, shortness of breath, but within days I could barely breathe. The ER nurse said pneumonia and hooked me up to oxygen. 21 days. That's how long I stayed in that hospital room, under flickering fluorescent lights. The numbers 4 and 12 be stamped into my mind. Dad came once, day 4. He stood at the foot of my bed, eyes darting between me and the heart monitor. "You scared your sister," he said. "You should have called sooner." He brought me socks I already owned, told me to get some rest, and left before the dinner tray arrived. Lily texted once on day 9. "You okay? I might stop by if my schedule opens." Her schedule, a Pilates class and a farmer's market. By day 13 I'd stopped checking my phone. I just stared at the ceiling, wondering if I was the only one still holding this family together out of obligation. Then on day 14 I got a text from my neighbor Mr. Patel meant for his wife. It was a photo of my front porch. In it, Dad stood there holding my spare key. Lily smiled beside him, surrounded by boxes. The caption read, "Big move day." For a moment I thought the fever was back. I zoomed in twice. My house. My porch. My key. I typed "That's my house," then deleted it. Day 21. The nurse wheeled me out with antibiotics and a stack of discharge papers. The air outside felt heavy, like the world had kept going without me. I called a rideshare. My duffel bag bumped against my ribs as I walked up the driveway. Dad was standing on my porch, arms crossed, expression blank. Lily stood behind him, a measuring tape in hand, smiling that influencer smile that never reached her eyes. I thought they were there to welcome me home. "Hey," I said, voice shaky. "What's going on?" Dad didn't answer right away. His tone was flat when he finally spoke. "It's not yours anymore." For a heartbeat I thought he was joking. "What?" He jerked his chin toward the new deadbolt. "Plans changed. Lily's moving in. She needs stability. You're hardly ever here anyway." Lily twirled the measuring tape like it was a baton. "It's for the best, Liv. You can get something smaller, cozier." My chest tightened. "Not from pneumonia this time." "That's my house," I said quietly. Dad sighed. "You should have thought of that before you went and got sick. Lily can't stay at my place anymore, too cramped. This is family helping family." "Family?" I echoed, my voice trembling. "You gave away my home." Lily just shrugged, unbothered. "You'll figure something out. You always do." I looked at her. My little sister who'd borrowed, taken, smiled, and been forgiven all her life. And then at my father, who just wiped out my years of effort with one decision. For a moment I wanted to yell, to beg, to demand an explanation. But I didn't. Instead I adjusted the strap of my hospital bag, turned toward the sidewalk, and said the only thing left in me. "Enjoy it." Dad squinted. "That's it? That's all you've got to say?" "That's all I've got today." I walked away. past the maple tree I'd planted, past the porch where I'd eaten Sunday breakfasts, past the windows I'd painted myself. I didn't cry until the motel door closed behind me. That night, lying on a thin mattress that crinkled with every breath, I stared at the ceiling until it blurred. I wasn't thinking about revenge, not yet. I was thinking about patterns. About how every time Lily made a mess, I was the one who cleaned it up. How every time Dad said family, he really meant you'll handle this, Olivia. As I counted the days I'd been gone, I started counting something else, the costs. The mortgage, the taxes, the utilities, the groceries. And beneath the ache and disbelief, something steadier began to take shape. A plan. Maybe I was done being their safety net. The motel's air conditioner rattled like a shopping cart with a bad wheel. I lay on top of the covers, lungs still sore from coughing, and watched blue streetlight carve stripes across the ceiling. If I let myself feel everything, I'd drown. So I did what I always do when life tilts. I made a list. On the back of my discharge papers, I wrote in block letters. Mortgage. $1,460. Property tax due. $2,870. Utilities average. $196. Groceries solo. Repairs whatever breaks. Guest 0. At the bottom I added one final line, the only number that mattered, my spine. I underlined it twice. People say betrayal happens suddenly, like a trapdoor opening. Doesn't. It's a hallway. A long carpeted hallway where each small step feels harmless until you realize the door behind you has locked. We grew up in that hallway. After Mom left, Dad mastered the quick pivot. How to turn pain into pride. How to praise toughness and mock softness. The rules were simple. If Lily cried, the world stopped. If I bled, I was fine. When we both brought home straight A's, he took Lily for ice cream and told me, "Don't let it go to your head." When Lily dented the car, he blamed the pole. When I spilled milk, he lectured for 15 minutes about carelessness like he was giving a keynote speech. I learned early that competence was a curse. The more I could carry, the more they piled on. Family pitches in, Dad would say. Somehow, pitching in always meant I paid. At 23, I kept 2 jobs and a jar on my dresser labeled house in shaky Sharpie. I fixed neighbors' sinks for $60 cash and watched drywall tutorials at double speed. The day I got pre-approved for a mortgage, I cried in the bank parking lot, because a letter on cheap printer paper felt like permission to exist. When I closed 3 years later, my checking account limped along with $800, and I celebrated in the same steel-toe boots I wore to work. Dad scanned the deed and said, "Don't get cocky." Then in the same breath he declared, "We'll do family dinners here." And just like that, my house became ours. He gave Lily a key for emergencies. Emergencies turned out to mean my landlord's weird. "It's too loud at Dad's, I need a place to film, and can Maya crash? She's having a hard time." Soon strangers' shoes lined my entryway. Rose petals clogged my bathtub drain from one of Lily's videos. Utility bills ballooned. When I asked for notice, they blinked at me like I was speaking another language. Boundaries slid off them like oil in a pan. Sounds small until it happens over and over. You come home from a 12-hour shift, lungs tasting like copper, and see Lily's ring light glowing on your thrift store coffee table. You remind Dad to close the front door, and he lectures you about neighborhood crime while it's still wide open. You eat pasta straight from the pot because there are no clean bowls left. And when you say, "This isn't a community center," Dad replies, "You only have this because of family." I wanted to ask which family he meant. The pneumonia came the way bad things usually do. After too many overtime shifts signed with trembling hands, after too many damp basements with no masks, after ignoring a cough because the mortgage doesn't care if you're tired. In 412B, the night nurse tucked the blanket around me and said my name like it was something soft. On day 7, she adjusted my oxygen and smiled. "You look like you're planning a heist." "I'm planning not to get robbed," I whispered. She laughed, then saw my face and stopped. "You need boundaries, baby." I used to hate that word, boundaries. It sounded like an Instagram quote in beige font. But lying there under bleach-stained sheets, it started to feel like something real. A lock I didn't have to apologize for. The photo from Mr. Patel shattered what denial I had left. Dad with my spare key. Lily with boxes. Big move day. It wasn't an accident. It was a statement. They believed my strength was endless, my patience bottomless. I needed to become something other than their well. So I started with the quiet steps. No text, no drama, just information. I pulled up the county website on the motel's sluggish Wi-Fi and read housing codes until the words blurred. I called a friend of a friend in the sheriff's office and asked, purely hypothetically, what notice window applied for unauthorized occupants in an owner-occupied property with no lease. The answer, 7 days. I wrote it down. Then I called a property manager whose card I'd kept tucked in a kitchen drawer under rubber bands and old receipts. I might be ready to rent soon, I said. He told me he had travel nurses looking, good references, no drama. My lungs ached, but not from the infection this time. Next I called a locksmith. He said, Monday 8 a.m. No questions. I printed a notice to vacate at the FedEx by the freeway, $1.32 to staple. I dated it. Made 2 copies. Slept a little. The next morning my phone lit up like a siren. 17 missed calls from Dad, 31 texts from Lily, a group chat ping. Can someone bring foil? As if I'd been erased into a casserole. I didn't reply. I took my meds, drank water, did my breathing exercises. And the moment that 7-day window expired, I ironed a shirt I didn't need to. Not for them, for me. To remember I could still choose a clean seam on a Monday morning. But clarity isn't a straight line. Grief kept slipping in between tabs of legal forms and locksmith confirmations. Other memories surfaced like bad songs on shuffle. Lily at 11 in a glitter headband, Dad saying she's going to be a star. Me at 12 with a science fair ribbon, Dad saying let's not make too big a deal. Lily at 19 moving in with a boyfriend who forgot rent, Dad calling me. Liv, can you help with a deposit? Just this once. That once became gas money, then a credit card in my name for emergencies, then me calculating interest at midnight while she posted smoothie bowls and sunsets. I hate my sister. I hate the arithmetic of it, the equation where my responsibility always cancels out her consequence. Where Dad's affection for Lily only exists if I'm the scaffolding holding it up. On day 3 of the countdown, Nurse Carmen called to check in. How's the breathing? Better, I said. Worse, I meant. You sound steadier, she replied, like she could hear my posture through the line. Remember what we talked about, boundaries aren't cruelty, they're directions. I'd written that down somewhere between my ribs and my spine. That night I dreamed of the maple tree outside the house, the one that drops those spinning seed pods every spring. Tiny helicopters twirling down like confetti from a shy parade. But in the dream they were brass keys, landing one by one in my open palm. I woke with my pulse calm for the first time in weeks. On the 4th day, I walked the 2 blocks from the motel back to my house at sunrise and taped the notice to vacate beneath the wiper of Dad's truck. Polite. Precise. Dated. Mr. Patel's doorbell camera caught me. Later I watched the playback. Hair pulled back. Hospital bracelet still on my wrist, shoulders squared. I looked like a woman leaving herself a message. This is the day you stopped bleeding out your kindness. I half expected a call, anger begging something. Nothing. Hours passed. The paper vanished from the windshield. A crumpled scrap in Mr. Patel's trash told me exactly who had seen it, and exactly what he thought of it. Fine. I documented that too. By day 5, the family group chat had mutated into Aunt Carol's lectures and teary selfies from cousins who thrive on chaos but never solutions. I muted it. Opened a spreadsheet instead. Incoming rent versus mortgage. Locksmith fee versus deposit from potential tenants. Storage costs versus peace of mind. Every cell I filled loosened something inside me. The numbers aligned like clean joints in new wood. Not revenge. Not rage. Just maintenance, the kind I do at work when a system leaks and you shut the valve, replace the seal, and the hissing finally stops. On day 6, Lily texted me directly for the first time. We need to talk. Don't be dramatic. I typed and erased 3 different replies. What I sent was simple: 7 days. See the notice. She answered with 10 laughing emojis and a selfie. My living room behind her, my thrifted coffee table, my rug. Caption: New beginnings. I let the anger swell and recede like a tide, and didn't let it drown me. Then I called the property manager. If Monday's clear, I said, bring your couple. Noon. He hesitated, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. So was I. That last night in the motel, the air conditioner finally gave out. The silence that followed was startling. I lay there counting breaths 4 in 6 out, exactly how the respiratory therapist had taught me. I thought of Dad's old saying, "You only have this because of family." He was right, just not in the way he meant. I did have this because of family, because they taught me the weight of a house, the price of a promise, and the sound of a lock clicking closed. Monday would come. The locksmith would come. The property manager would come. And I would too, pressed shirt, blue folder, a stack of copies and a spine. Not to make a scene. Not to win. To end a hallway, and open a door with a key of my own choosing. Monday arrived under a pale sun, the air smelling of rain on dry dust. I woke before the alarm. My body felt light, like my nerves hadn't caught up with my choices. By 7:30 a.m., I stood outside my motel door in clean jeans and a crisp work shirt. The folder under my arm wasn't heavy, but it felt like armor. Inside, the notice to vacate, receipts, photos, and a new lease ready for signing at noon. At 7:52, I turned onto my old street. The maple tree had begun shedding early, scattering those little helicopters across the sidewalk like shy confetti. For a moment I just watched them spin. Then I exhaled. Let's get it done. The locksmith's van arrived first. A man named Jorge, kind eyes, tidy toolbox. Behind him, a silver sedan pulled up. Mark Peters, my property manager, clipboard in hand, polite as ever, the kind who apologizes for existing. At 8:01 they followed me up the walkway. Dad opened the door before I could knock. Flannel shirt. Morning scowl. Mug that wasn't his. His gaze dropped to the folder in my hand. "So you finally decided to crawl back." "Good morning," I said evenly. "I'm here to take care of some things." From inside, Lily's voice drifted out. "We're busy, Liv. I have a client call at 9. I looked past Dad there. She was barefoot on my rug, coffee in my mug, hair in that effortless bun that probably took 20 minutes and 3 products. "Perfect," I said softly. "You'll want to wrap up soon." At exactly 8:03, Jorge started drilling. The sound of the old lock breaking free echoed through the air. Metal against metal, sharp and final. Dad's face went chalk white. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" "Changing the locks," I said simply. "It's what people do when unauthorized occupants won't leave." He stepped forward. "This is our home." "No," I replied, meeting his eyes. "It's mine. You were guests when invited. Trespassers when you changed the locks." Lily snorted. "You can't evict your own family. I can end access you were never entitled to." Mark cleared his throat. "Mr. and Ms. Grant, you were served a 7-day notice last Monday. The legal period has expired. Please collect your belongings. Movers will handle storage." Dad's jaw tightened. "Storage? You're insane." 60 days, I said calmly. "At my expense. After that, it's your call." Lily crossed her arms. "You're overreacting." "Am I?" I held up the paper. His greasy fingerprint still smudged across it from when he'd crumpled it off his truck. "This was on your windshield. You received it. You ignored it." Jorge stepped back, tools packed. "All set." "Thank you," I said. "Send the bill directly to me." Dad's fist clenched. "You're really doing this?" "I am." Lily's lip trembled. Not sadness, fury. "You hate us. Admit it." "This isn't hate," I said. "It's maintenance." The words came out steady, truer than I'd expected. "Maintenance." Dad barked. "You think this is a job?" "It's my house," I said. "My peace. My lungs." I glanced toward the maple leaves flickering in pale light. "I almost died holding this family together, while you treated me like a utility. That ends today." He moved closer, voice low. "After everything I've done for you." "After everything I've done for you," I corrected. "Paid your bills. Fixed your truck brakes in the rain. Covered Lily's credit cards just this once 5 times. You built a system where I owed you for surviving. I don't owe anyone for breathing." A car stopped at the curb, a silver Honda. The travel nurses stepped out, tidy and nervous, holding a houseplant between them. "Miss Grant," the man asked, "we can come back if—" "No," I said gently. "You're fine. You're right on time." Dad turned crimson. "You're renting it out to strangers?" "To people who pay rent," I said, "and respect property." Lily's voice sharpened. "You'll regret this." I already regret waiting this long. Mark handed the new tenants their keys, smiling politely. The woman, small, soft-spoken, looked at me and whispered, "We'll take good care of it." "I know," I said. Dad stepped toward Mark, his posture dangerous. I moved between them. "Don't," I said flatly. "If you touch him, I call the sheriff. If you're still here past 9, I call the sheriff. If you damage anything, I call the sheriff." Silence, heavy, brittle, filled only by the hum of distant traffic. He looked at me like I was someone he'd never met. Maybe he was right. "You think you're better than us because you have a spreadsheet?" "I think I'm better than I was last week," I said. It landed like a slap. Lily stuffed clothes into a trash bag. "You're heartless." "I'm healthy," I replied. By 8:45 their truck was packed. By 8:58 they stood on the sidewalk. By 9:01 silence. Dad lingered beneath the maple tree, staring at the house. "You really don't want us back, do you?" I met his eyes. "Not until respect costs less than love." He looked away first. By noon the new tenants were moving in, careful, quiet, gentle. The woman set the plant on the windowsill I'd sanded by hand. "We'll take good care of it," she said again. For the first time in months I believed someone. When the locksmith's van pulled away, the house didn't feel like a wound anymore. Felt like closure.